Okay, we are live. So, welcome to Rise Up CX Talks. This is the podcast where we uncover how to transform customer experience into sustainable revenue. I am your host, Camila Ferreira, an award winning CX leader and an international speaker. And I'm beyond thrilled to guide you through insights and strategies that drive lasting success. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome Americo da Costa, a veteran CX leader who also speaks Portuguese. We just realized that. And I'm beyond happy to have him here in this second episode. So, with no further ado, Americo, tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do to create or drive better experiences.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for inviting me on the show. My name is Americo da Costa. I am a cross functional leader. I've spent most of my career in financial services and have built and developed a passion for the customer experience, delighting customers along the way. And I'm excited now to transition my journey to help small businesses, professionals, uh, excel in generating wealth through an improved customer experience.
Amazing. It's so good to have the opportunity to share thoughts with you live. We have been talking and engaging through LinkedIn, and now having you here, kind of sharing with our audience thoughts, customer experience, and topics related to this. And the first one I want to touch base on is actually the subject of this podcast, right? So, the emotional connection behind customer experience. So, can you tell us a little bit more about this emotional connection?
Absolutely. So uh, I'm compelled to talk about, and I even built it into my company brand, Journey Logic. And it's really about being logical, that emotional connection. Today we have to respect the evolution of where technology has brought us and the advances that technology has rewarded us with. But at the end of the day, there's two things that I focus on with those who I work with. It's company culture and process. And the soft skills that encompass those two are where I see some of the greatest emotional connections happening. Technology is great. Technology has its place and its purpose. But if you don't have that emotional connection that is driven through a process, that is driven through improved employee experience and work culture, your technology is just an investment that you've made that may not be returning on the investment or the giving you the ROI that you first thought or that you're capable of delivering without bringing together um, the three corners of that mix. So respect technology, but remember that emotional connection comes from your people, your culture, and your process.
Absolutely. And I do think this is a good segue for us to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, right? So, this is a very hot topic in customer experience. People are afraid of losing their jobs. What's going to be the role of artificial intelligence? And what I used to say is artificial intelligence actually came to help us and the customer experience agents and teams to add a lot more value to the business, which is very much related to what you just said, right? So the personal connection.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. It has helped tremendously, but it also limits for those who don't optimize um, that customer journey and start to neglect parts of it because you're relying so much on AI and you're prioritizing your AI capabilities. Yeah, you can you can be vulnerable if you put all your eggs in your AI basket, right? And rely simply on that. Just the other day, I was interacting and engaging through some content on LinkedIn, and there are now people who are purposely producing content for others to consume with spelling mistakes so that they can differentiate themselves. Hey, my content is authentic. They're trying to make a connection with their audience and get others to realize, hey, this is the real me. And the customer journey is the same. It's really about authenticity and being able to delight to that customer along the way.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because just before going live, you and I were talking about putting a face to what we do, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of fun. I tell people when I coach them, when I mentor them on leadership, on executive presence, is that the best we can do for ourselves is actually to be authentic. Whenever we try to be someone else that we see on social media, oh, just because this person is famous or because this person is successful in that particular field, trying or pushing myself to become that person is actually the worst I can do to me and to the environment.
No, for sure. Yeah, we were talking, and I had shared with you that for 2025, I purposely and willingly want to step away from that keyboard and bring a face, but bring a voice to my personal brand and tie it to the conversations. It's I have to be able to give my audience and my customers an option and a choice for them to consume what I have to share. And to simply type my content and as much passion as I have, and I can type and write a great story about, a lot of the customer experience analogies and everything else. But I just felt that I wasn't making that emotional connection. So to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. And here I am on camera. I host a few shows of my own, and I think it's a trend that isn't going away. And for businesses and professionals who want to improve and execute an improved customer experience and build that emotional connection with their customers, they may want to pause and rethink if this isn't part of their strategy, to add it to their strategy, because it will make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. And what I can say, at least from the customer standpoint, sometimes we do make a decision based on price, but what makes us stay is actually the experience, is the connection that we create with that brand, with that company, right? So once you and I have recently exited a corporate, and we're actually talking about that transition. So the way we feel today, the benefits that we have observed and gained since we transitioned from corporate is what gives us the energy and fuel to keep investing on solopreneurship, because
Uh,
it's not easy, right? So,
no, we've learned the hard way. We know it's not easy, and everyone who's come before us has shared, hey, it's not easy. But now those who come after us look up to us and aspire to be more like us, and that's important for us to deliver that message. You also don't want to put yourself in a position where similarly brands have a tendency of finding themselves in is overpromising and under-delivering, right?
yes.
So, which is also an important component that we talk about that ties into the emotional connection. How frustrated do we get as customers when we're promised a call back within a certain amount of time, or when we're promised a product will be delivered by a certain amount of time? And that's that, over promise and under deliver. It's best to be transparent. If something's going to take time, then let that customer know that it's going to take time, because it's great to build awareness and get that sale, but it's equally important, if not more important, to build trust and to build customer advocacy, because we've read it in textbooks, we've experienced it in our corporate lives. We know that it costs more to gain a new customer than it does to keep an existing customer.
Oh, absolutely. It's way more experienced. It's way more expensive to go after a new customer than to better treat the current one, right? And you were talking about a kind of a building trust. Again, we do know problems will pop up. That's life. right? So again, if you are in the SaaS industry or if you are in retail, we will face problems. That's a reality. But how we handle those problems, how transparent we are, is what sets companies apart, right? Because if you are transparent, if you actually make that connection, whenever you contact the company, the support center, and the agent, put him or herself on the customer's shoes and say, hey, I feel your pain. Let me see what I can do here. But seriously, right? So let me go after solutions. Bear with me. I feel your pain. That's completely different than just kind of reading on a script. And you know when people are just reading a script and not doing anything else to actually support you. That's where frustration comes to place.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'll go as far as adding to this part of the conversation where I also see opportunity for organizations to improve is by not avoiding prioritizing where to place emphasis on the customer journey and on the customer experience. We'll come across businesses that we work with or customers that reach out to us, and we quickly understand, hey, emphasis is put on at the top of funnel. Customer experience is important to us during the sales cycle, and we're going to bend over backwards and we're going to delight that customer until we've piqued their curiosity. We've created that awareness. They're considering us as a product and company of choice to work with. And then what happens? How often do customers, once they get onboarded, they don't get the support that they need?
Yes.
And you have businesses that backload the emphasis on customer experience. Let's focus on customer churn. We don't want to lose our customers. Let's make our emphasis, let's invest in retaining customers and building advocacy. And when you start turning customer experience into an a la carte type of decision making, where you're picking and choosing where you want to invest, it's going to be fragmented. There's no doubt. Customer experience is not about one part of the journey. It's about the entire journey, and it needs to include all the touch points.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like particularly, so my targeted audience is small and medium businesses. And I do understand that at this stage of the company, they are kind of mostly focused on acquiring new customers because this is the expansion moment.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. But it doesn't have to be one or the other, right? At the same time that you are acquiring, kind of be very much aware and care about the experience once you will get this customer onboarded, because that's what's going to make the difference. And we all know that going after a brand new customer, kind of creating a cold lead, warming that lead, and trying to convert is hard. However, if you have a very loyal customer that is referring you, then you're going to get many warm leads, which will in turn be a lot easier for you to convert. Yeah. So look at this. It's not just about kind of securing your top line, but actually growing. And that's what I said in the beginning of this podcast, right? It's how you transform customer experience into sustainable growth. You are not only making money with your existing customers, but your customers become your advocacies, and they are the ones referring you.
Absolutely. It's another point that I enjoy having a conversation around is helping people and businesses understand that experience doesn't start at the moment that the customer either picks up the phone or sends an email or expresses interest. The experience starts way before that. 80%, over 80% of purchasing decisions start where? Online. The minute someone feels that there's a need for a product, a need for a service, or just wanting to get something, people go online and they start to research the product, the service. Where do they focus on? Yes, they'll look at product specs, they'll look at the service, the value that the product has, but people also pay close attention to testimonials and customer reviews. And there are businesses that neglect that. They understand the importance of responding to a review for an existing customer, but are they focusing and investing on that personal brand image for those who have yet to enter their funnels, for those who have yet to engage with their brand? And that's another great opportunity. And it's we try not to overthink things, try not to overcomplicate things, and that's a simple win. I always consider that low hanging fruit, because if you can create a sense of reliability and in your testimonials, in your reviews, and customers and prospective customers can start to build that trust. It's like, all right, here's a responsible organization who made a mistake. They were responsive. They took action and they got in front of the public and took care of it. And that helps accelerate and move prospects closer to being customers.
What a great advice. What a great advice. Seriously, I wish many companies and our CX leaders were kind of listening to this, because that's definitely a very low hanging fruit that people do not pay attention to. But in the world that we are living, so well connected, you are very much true. So we go online, we do our research. The first thing that I do is let me read the reviews, and the bad ones first.
Yeah.
That's from where I start. Right? Not because I want to know what doesn't work, but I really want to know how this company will position in a scenario where of failure.
Yeah, absolutely. And alternatively, and this is one of my biggest pain points, because I respect NPS, I respect CSAT, but those can easily be manipulated through gamification. How often as customers have we been asked, hey, how was your experience today? And depending on how you respond, that frontline employee will say, it would really help me if you gave me a positive review. And so when you're controlling the outcome, it's not really authentic.
Yes.
Ask your customers for a testimonial, ask your customers for a review, build that emotional connection, and accept whatever they're going to give you. Do not try to drive the results and guide them to, you know what, it would really help me if you gave me a 9 or a 10, because it impacts my performance. Like I've had, whether it was buying a car, whether it was, multiple different channels and verticals and buying experiences, where I'm being asked, and I've had opportunities where it's like, well, where do you think this sale went? How do you feel I would respond? It's like, well, I had a delay in delivering my vehicle. We had nothing but problems. And yes, it was COVID and there was delays, and I get the circumstances. And when I told them, it's like, all right, aside from the supply chain issues that led to delays, there were other, frustrations along the way. And I'll be glad to give you a review, but I'm also going to be transparent and share the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
The response I got was, well, I'll remove your email from the review list. So when you can manipulate your results to that degree, you kind of lose credibility. So it's important to either ask, make it a closed-ended question. Can you do this for me? Yes, no. But to be able to control the destiny of where your score is going to end up, loses credibility. So you got to rely on those who just do it out of the kindness of their heart or out of the respect for the brand. They want to help. They want to share feedback because they respect the brand enough to want to help them improve.
Absolutely. So I think a review or a feedback is an act of love, right? We do not spend time. Time is the only resource that we cannot recreate. So if I'm going to spend time on providing you a feedback, it's because, first of all, I care about you. Right? Otherwise, I would do something else with my time. And two, I truly believe that providing you feedback, you can grow and you can reinvent yourself upon that. So whenever we manipulate, whenever we gamify the system, we are losing such a big opportunity to grow and make things better.
Absolutely. It's a game changer when you start to think, and you peel back the layers of that onion. You start to realize, oh my goodness, we're complicating things more than we need to. We're manipulating things that we should avoid manipulating. And you know what? Just accept it for what it is. And when customers will judge you, not when you're doing well, not when they get a great experience, they will judge you when at your most vulnerable time, when you perhaps mess up a transaction, when you mess up an interaction. It's how you react and how you handle and overcome failing to meet a customer's um, objectives. That's when you're going to be judged,
Absolutely.
right?
Again, in the moment of failure, right? Because when
Moment of
everything
failure.
goes well, it's easier to handle. It's when you were pitching, when you were selling the world in both ways, right? So that's how contracts are signed. Okay, I'm offering the world, me too. Let's sign a contract. But then when problems arise, is when we're going to see, um, when we're going to have the chance to actually assess the ability of handling the chaos, handling the problems, handling the failure, which set companies apart.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes a process sets a company apart. Uh, some companies are really great at generating and creating a good workflows. Uh, but when a workflow becomes transactional, and you build regular cadence, and every year you're reviewing, it's like, all right, is this process still working? And it's a yes, no. All right, but do people take the time to engineer or reverse engineer that process? Just because it's working doesn't mean it's still right for the customer. Is there technology that can automate some of that process, reducing the turn time, reducing, and improving wait times? We're experiencing this today. I remember, if we go back to when I started my career, I was in banking,
Mhm.
and it was bricks and mortar for the most part. And telephone banking was introduced at that time when I was just entering my professional career, and everyone thought, "Oh my God, they're going to add telephone banking to a process," and people started thinking there's going to be job losses. There's going to be so much confusion. Um, and how does someone on the phone know that customer when they're not standing in front of them, looking at them face to face? And there was this huge panic. And yes, we added complexity. We, but it was really us adding choice to the customer journey. Customers no longer had to walk into a bank to work with a teller to get transactions taken care of. Jobs weren't lost. In fact, if you look at banking, it's evolved. We not only have bank branches still open, we have telephone centers that help customers who choose to get service over the phone. But now we have online banking, and right, so it's evolved. We've added more complexity, we've added more process, but it's still running smoothly. Alternatively, there are industries and products that have complex workflows, but can afford to reduce the complexity. So it's really about understanding your dynamic, understanding what's right for you. It's not a one size fits all. You know, for some parts of the journey, adding to it, creating complexity makes life easier for that customer. Where in other circumstances, you have to understand that, all right, this process is a little too clunky. It's got the customer waiting too long. What can we do? What can we remove? What can we automate? And what can we do without to make this easier for that customer? Because it's very easy to build frustration and build negative emotions when it comes to some transactions.
Absolutely. I think when we were kind of explaining this and walking us through those examples, something that is stood in my mind is make it right for the customer, right? And I have worked for companies in the past, gigantic companies that were solving for the company and not necessarily for the customer. And this is such a big mistake, right? We got to bring the customer to the center of the decision making and say, hey, let me see things from your lenses, let me see things from your eyes, and then design the solutions to your needs and not the other way around.
Yep.
So I think this is a good segue from our next question, Americo, which is the mistakes that we commit when we are kind of working with customer experience. I'm not sure if you want to share more examples other than the ones that you have shared of when we are trying to solve for the customer, the mistakes that we commit, or if you have experienced yourself as a customer dealing with customer support, dealing with your own journey and the mistakes that you have seen companies committing.
So I'll share an example, and we talk about overpromising, under-delivering. The example I'll share with the group is it ties to a phrase and a methodology that was shared with me. Focus on intent and impact. So many times companies do things and create processes and workflows with good intention, but fail to understand the impact in which the customer is put in. One of the examples was I would try to keep the names out of and pointing fingers, but there was an opportunity where a former organization that I represented was really big on webinars and creating webinars for their clients to help educate customers on their products and services, industry trends. And webinars had a huge following, had a huge enrollment. So it was a good marketing strategy that got a lot of attention. However, along the way, customers kept getting frustrated with the company's intentions to understand how's your experience so far. Right? So they embedded so much CX complexity. You would go online, you'd register to a webinar, you'd get an automated email. Thank you for registering for this upcoming webinar. How's your experience so far? It's like, well, I haven't done anything. I just completed a registration form. And then you show up to the event, you log in, and during at the end of the webinar, you're invited. Hey, thanks for attending. We'd like to know how your experience was. How likely are you to recommend us to your friend? It's like, well, once again, I'm just listening here. I haven't really acquired anything, but okay, there's a second survey. Then you have your sales team that starts doing the outreach. Hey, thanks for registering. Thanks for showing up. Do you have any questions? Can I put you in touch with an account executive who might be able to help you with some of our solutions that we spoke of during the webinar? And some customers would say yes, some would say no, of course, and that's part of the sales process. But at the end of that first outreach call, another survey would be triggered. So now you have 3 surveys, a combination of 21 questions, and what's really transpired. For some, it's been nothing but frustrating. You keep asking me how likely I am to recommend. I haven't done anything other than registered and listened to some information. Yes. So it's the mistake some companies do, and with good intentions, they want to know how that customer journey is going. They want to know the customer sentiment, but it's about knowing where to place it. It's about knowing when to ask and when not to ask. Like let's back down, because if frequency is key. Just do it once. Had they done it once right at the end of their sales outreach, you'd probably get better engagement, better participation, and the customer at that point would be able to say, all right, registering was easy. logging into the event was a little bit clunky. I didn't know if I was in, if I wasn't, and they'd give you the feedback. But when it reaches a point where you feel like you're being harassed to answer, like, oh my goodness, like just leave me alone. I don't want to talk to anybody right now. You're more concerned about your survey than you are about your product and service.
Absolutely. What a great advice, right? Not overwhelm customers. Again, gauging their experience is important, but when you do this also matters. Otherwise, as you correctly said, you're not going to have the level of engagement that is needed. You're not going to have statistically significance, which is important in any survey that we do. And we are not going to get the insights that you actually need to understand what is working and what is not working. So, yeah, great advice for those TX leaders listening to us. So, please pay attention to the timing of when you're going to ask your customers feedback, right? We're going to put them in a position, first of all, that they feel comfortable. Two, they do have something to share. Because if you just kind of register online, so how much can you share about your experience? And it's interesting because by listening to you, I was kind of just remember a recent experience where, I don't know, I signed up for a free ebook or something. I found the topic interest. So I fill out the form, I got the ebook and say, hey, on my free time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go read. But it was like 3 minutes after I downloaded the ebook, I had someone calling me. Say, hey, how did you like the ebook? We have the kind of following solutions, how we can help your business. I'm like, I don't know. I literally just downloaded. I haven't had a chance to go through this. I'm planning on doing that, but on my free time. So I think it's too early for me to ask something at this point, right? So, and again, it could have been a completely different interaction if this person or if this company have given me time to go through and maybe follow up later and say, hey, I saw maybe on an offline channel, I saw that you downloaded. Did you like the ebook? Do you have any insights? And then engage in a kind of a phone conversation. But calling me right after, lost an opportunity. And again, the other thing that I would like to mention here is what is stuck in my mind was this kind of an inappropriate situation, inappropriate approach. Look how quickly I went from being a potential client to not become a potential client.
Yeah. To my point, it's intent and impact. So the intent is right. Someone decided, hey, as soon as they register, this is a hot lead, and we don't want to you don't want to get cold. And that's that marketing philosophy. Warm leads get cold quick. And so if they're calling because it's warm, they're told that it's warm, and they're trained that this is the time in which you insert yourself. But you're doing it to the detriment of your product, to the reputation of your organization, just because you've misplaced and mispositioned the call. And you're absolutely right. Companies and businesses lose clients or prospective clients because of the timing and the timeline that they create. It's either you try to shorten the timeline to execute the sale, and it can come back and haunt you with poor sentiment, or if you drag it on too long, it's about really finding the right or that sweet spot that works best. And don't linger on and sit on waiting to see, is this a good time? If you're not getting sales out of it, be quick to pivot, be quick to understand, right, this isn't working. And, I talk about process. Just because the process, it's being executed as written and as designed, doesn't mean that it's the right process.
Oh, absolutely. And I once learned from a previous manager something that is stuck in my mind with is never assume, always check. Which means that, of course, whenever we are designing a customer journey, I truly believe people do that with the best intention, right? I don't believe that anyone wakes up and say, I'm going to break this, not to say another word, but I'm going to break this journey, right? No, it's the other way around. But we got to remember that we see the world the way we are and not necessarily the way things are.
Yeah.
right? Because if the two of us look at the same thing, we're going to observe different things just because we are different. So the never assume, always check is design your journey, but go and validate with your customer, right? To make sure that you're not going to overwhelm, to make sure that we are not going to quickly kind of lose a potential client just because you were calling this client inappropriately 3 minutes after downloading the ebook,
Yeah, that's
right?
uh, that frustrates me when they're quick to act, and you haven't taken any time other than, you know, in your case, it's an ebook, but how often is it, something else? The technology exists now. You go visit a website, and they'll find your IP address, and they'll find you, and they'll scrape your email, and next thing you know, hey, you're getting emails. Hey, uh, thanks for visiting our website,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
here's some additional information, and it's like, wow, it's overwhelming at times. And I know over the holidays, I can't tell you how many
Oh, yes.
emails I've had to unsubscribe just because I expressed interest. I was doing some research, I was looking at reviews, but someone knows that I'm looking, and now they want to do business with me. And I guess that's SEM doing what it's designed to do. Uh,
Yeah, but
but
not necessarily having the customer at the center of the decision making,
that's right.
right? Okay, we are approaching the end. I can't believe the time flew by. But for us to wrap things up, if you can share a pivotal experience in your life that shaped who you are or how you approach creating meaningful experience, what was that? What was that experience?
I would say the mentorship that I got and the advice that I got throughout my career, to not be or not position myself to be a one trick pony. You don't want to be that one person that knows everything about one thing. You want to create versatility. You want to create a dynamic, and dynamic breadth of knowledge, and it has served me well. Many people has had questioned me, like, Americo, you seem to be jumping all over the place. One day you're in sales, one day you're in service, next day you're in project management, and on paper your resume doesn't have any fluidity, doesn't have long tenure. It's like, no, for me it's about understanding the customer, understanding the business from a holistic lens. Understand the front end and the back end, and you'll have a different appreciation for your product, a different appreciation and respect for your customer, and you'll be able to navigate and know who to go to when you've hit a crossroads, when something isn't working. And that has served me well, and it's given me an opportunity to now help other professionals and small businesses to really look at things from a bird's eye view, that holistic lens, to help business owners make decisions that uh, that are scalable. Because now I'm working with smaller businesses, but you want to help those businesses. Hey, here's what happens. The decisions we got to make today are going to make an impact a year or two down the line. So let's not focus and concentrate on what's happening in an isolated incident. Let's think holistically. You're looking to grow and scale your business, so you got to think and position yourself as a thought leader, but at a larger scale. And that has served me well. It now puts me in a position that is respected. Customers appreciate uh, the experience that I've brought, and hope that answers your question. I know that
Yes,
this has
and
been
it's
a great conversation.
awesome. Absolutely. By listening to you, I was thinking that you learned by experience on how to speak the different languages of companies' different departments, right? We all know that marketing has its own language as well as finance and operations, and understanding on how to communicate with every single department in an organization makes you a key person because then you become a connector, right? Where you put the different departments, the different objectives. You help to connect the different objectives of the different departments. And this is awesome because this is one of the main problems of organizations. Sometimes marketing wants to go one way or sales wants to go another way. And being able to facilitate that communication to come to a common goal is fantastic. So congratulations. It was a great advice from your mentor. And I am glad that you follow his recommendation because it makes you a very strong and unique professional.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was and continues to be great advice.
Wonderful. So, Americo, I want to thank you once again for being part of the Rise Up CX Talks and share your advices, share some mistakes for our CX leads not to commit, share tips on how to improve the customer experience. It was such a pleasure talking to you today, and I'm sure that we're going to keep in touch. Right after this streaming, I'm going to share all of your personal information. So for whoever that is listening us right now or watching us right now or later, you're going to be able to know how to find you and be able to learn more from you, from your experience as a CX leader. Thank you very much and hope to see you soon.
Thank you for having me.